As of today, Yandere Simulator has been in development for 2 years. Happy birthday, Yandere-chan. I think that this is the appropriate time to make a video about the biggest obstacle that I am facing. If this one obstacle could be removed, I would have much more time to work on the game, and the game's development would go by much faster. The problem is email. This is a problem that I have mentioned various times in previous videos and blog posts. You're probably sick of hearing about it by now. I'm certainly sick of talking about it. I'd love to stop bringing up this subject, but that can only happen when it stops being the biggest problem I'm facing. I receive an avalanche of emails every single day. Depending on how much email I get, sometimes I spend between 8 and 12 hours going through my email, leaving me with no time left in the day to write code for the game. If I received half as much email, I would have twice as much time to work on the game, and the game's development would go by twice as fast. Do you want Yandere Simulator in 2019 or 2022? When you send me a stupid email, you are actively sabotaging the game's development. If you want this game to come out faster, you should not email me unless it's absolutely necessary. In this video, I'm going to explain what types of emails are a complete waste of my time and should never be sent. The emails that I receive fall into 5 categories: volunteers, bug reports, questions, suggestions, and fan works. The first category is volunteers. Since the beginning of Yandere Simulator's development, a multitude of very skilled people have contacted me and volunteered to help create various assets for the game. I cannot create models, draw art, animate characters, compose music, or voice act. So, volunteers are essential to the game's development. Speaking with volunteers takes up the majority of my time, and here's why. When I am requesting anything from a volunteer, I spend a lot of time describing exactly how I want it to look, and I spend a lot of time searching for reference images. For example, if I request a 3D model of a laptop, I search for images of the exact type of laptop I want. If I request an animation of a character burning to death, I search for an animation where a character dies from fire. If I want a character to be illustrated, I search for similar characters to use as reference. If I want a music track, I search for a pre-existing track that sounds similar, etc. After the volunteer has finished creating whatever I asked for, I provide them with feedback and critique, and they revise their work. This process continues until they deliver exactly what I need. Finding reference and providing feedback is a time-consuming process, but the results are always worth it. Yandere Simulator depends on volunteers. Without the volunteers, I could never have made as much progress as I have. With that said, it's possible for some volunteers to be obstacles. Every day, dozens of people, honestly, dozens, contact me and volunteer to contribute to the game. Unfortunately, only about 10% of them actually meet my standards. The majority of people who volunteer to be artists produce artwork that looks like this. The majority of people who volunteer to be 3D modelers produce models that look like this. Look, I'm grateful that there are people who want to help me. I appreciate the fact that there are people who are willing to volunteer for the game. It's heartwarming to hear from someone who is offering to lend me their time. But let's be realistic here. People have very high expectations for Yandere Simulator. People want Yandere Sim to have graphics that look like they belong in this decade. When was the last time you saw a video game with artwork that looked like this? I've been fortunate enough to be contacted by several extremely skilled individuals with years of professional experience who are willing to provide me with high-quality assets which look like they belong in a real video game. I am incredibly lucky that these talented people have generously offered to lend me their time. As a result, there is no reason for me to accept volunteers whose work is below professional quality. If you don't think that a video game company would hire you, you should not volunteer for Yandere Simulator. The majority of volunteers I hear from are 12-year-old kids. Look, I appreciate the fact that you want to help out, but I have never been impressed with artwork or models created by children. In general, just don't email me if you're under 18. Little kids shouldn't even be playing a game like Yandere Simulator. Seriously, where are your parents? If you do volunteer, you must remember to show me examples of your work. If someone volunteers to help me out and they don't include any examples of their previous work, I immediately delete their email and move on to the next one. I'm not going to waste my time typing an email that says, "I don't know whether or not I want your help. I haven't even seen what your work looks like yet. Show me what your work looks like first." Please don't volunteer to translate the game into other languages. At this point in time, I am constantly changing words in the game's English script. If you translate the game right now in its current state, your translation will quickly become outdated. I don't want to constantly update the game's translation every time I change the game's script, so that's why nobody should send me translations at this point in time. After the game's English script is final, I will make a post on my blog and ask for translation assistance. Until then, please don't offer to translate the game. The next category is bug reports. Yandere Simulator in its current form is not a game. A game is something with win conditions and loss conditions. If you can't win or can't lose, it's not a game. Yandere Simulator in its current form is a sandbox with a bunch of toys in it. It's a debug build. The purpose is right there in the name, debug. I provide these builds so that people can report bugs. That's it. Nobody should expect these builds to be fun at all. People who email me about bugs are the real MVPs. Like the volunteers, people who report bugs are heroes who are helping the game get closer to completion. However, just as some volunteers can waste my time, some bug reporters can waste my time too. Here are a set of rules that you should follow if you want to report bugs, but want to avoid wasting my time. Do not report bugs that you saw in a Let's Play video. New builds are uploaded very frequently, so YouTube videos become outdated very quickly. If you only encounter a bug once and you cannot cause it to happen again, do not bother reporting it. Only report a bug if you can successfully trigger the bug any time you try to make it happen. Only report a bug if you can tell me exactly what I must do to experience it for myself. Do not report bugs that only occur when you are using debug commands. Debug commands will not be available in the final game, so it's pointless to report bugs that result from them. Do not report bugs that can only occur through the use of mods. If something goes wrong when you're using a mod, it's the mod's fault, not my fault. Do not use vague language. Only use extremely specific and clear language. Do not attempt to tell jokes in your bug report. Only give me the facts. This is going to sound weird, but do not report crashes. Every time anyone has ever sent me the output log of a crash, the bottom of the output log has always contained the same words. File name not available. This means that the game only crashed because the player was missing some files. The only solution is to re-download the game. If it keeps happening every time you download the game, please wait until I have released an official downloader/updater/launcher application that checks for file integrity. The next category is questions. I do not want to receive questions. Answering questions takes away time that I could have spent working on the game. Not only that, but 90% of the questions I hear are already answered in the FAQ. It's a complete waste of time for everyone involved. Don't send me questions. If you have a question about the game, you should either read the FAQ, find a place to discuss Yandere Simulator and ask your question there, or just wait until I release more information about the game. The next category is suggestions. I do not want to receive suggestions. 99% of the time that I get a suggestion from someone, their idea has already been suggested before, is already a planned feature of the game, does not fit in with the design of the game, is far beyond the scope of a one-man indie game with no budget, or it's just stupid. As I said at the beginning of this video, Yandere Simulator has been in development for 2 years now. I've received over 18,400 emails about the game. I've already heard every suggestion. There's nothing you can suggest that I haven't already heard dozens of times. Just don't suggest things. If I ever actually want suggestions, I'll ask for it using very specific language like, please send me suggestions. If I don't use those exact words, don't send me suggestions. Last category, fanworks. The only thing preventing me from going insane is, well, actually, I went insane a long time ago. But the only thing preventing me from snapping completely is seeing that people enjoy Yandere Simulator. I've always dreamed of creating something that would spawn a fandom. My lifelong aspiration has been to create something that would inspire people to create fan art and wear cosplay. When people dress up as Yandere Simulator characters or post really awesome illustrations, I feel like sacrificing several years of my life for this game was actually worth it. Even though fan art and cosplay don't actually advance the game's development, I really love seeing that sort of thing. So it's perfectly okay to show me your creations. I appreciate it a lot. And with that, I think I've finished discussing all of the different ways that email is slowing down the development of the game. Remember, don't volunteer unless you're over 18 and have professional experience. Don't email me with questions, requests, or suggestions. Don't send bug reports unless you're going to follow the instructions on the bug report page. Only email me if you're volunteering and have an impressive portfolio of high-quality work to show me, you're reporting a bug, and you're following the proper bug reporting steps, you represent a company or a publication, or you're sharing fan art or cosplay. In short, you can help Yandere Simulator's development go by twice as fast. All you have to do is not email me, unless it's extremely important. If you do send me a useless email, I'm probably just going to respond by linking you to this video. I'm sorry that I had to celebrate Yandere Simulator's 2nd anniversary by making a video about such an unpleasant topic, but it was necessary. Thank you for following the development of Yandere
Dev! Why don't you just...
Stop. I know what you're going to say. You want to tell me to get a secretary, right? Many people have advised me to get a secretary to filter my emails and answer dumb questions for me. I dislike this idea because I don't want to babysit a secretary until they're doing their job properly. I don't want to risk the secretary responding to questions incorrectly and spreading misinformation. I don't want to risk the secretary filtering my emails incorrectly and failing to send me important emails. I don't want to risk the secretary being lazy and going through my emails so slowly that I'm better off doing it myself. And I don't want to risk the secretary seeing spoilers or other confidential information and then talking about it on social media. In other words, I only trust myself to handle the task of checking my email and responding to questions and corresponding with volunteers. I don't want to risk someone else screwing things up. So no, I won't get a secretary.
But that's not what I was going to say! I was going to ask, why don't you just make multiple email accounts?
How would that help? If I had separate email addresses for volunteers, bugs, business inquiries, and fan art, then I would constantly be logging out of and logging into different accounts, which would cause me to lose even more time than I'm already losing. I would never make an email account where people can send me questions or suggestions, because I don't want to hear questions or suggestions. Making separate email addresses doesn't actually solve any problems.
Well then, why don't you just...
Stop. Stop right there. After 2 years of this nonsense, I've already heard every single possible suggestion about how I can solve my email problem. There is no idea that you could possibly suggest that I haven't already shot down. So don't send me your brilliant ideas for how to solve my email problems, because it's not going to work. The only way you can help me solve my email problems is if you stop sending me emails.
Okay.
You know, there was a point in time when I was a very nice and patient person. But working on this game for the past 2 years has been very stressful, and it has sucked all of the niceness out of me. I no longer have any patience left. I've started responding to emails using very harsh and abusive language. I'm not proud of myself for doing this, and I'd like to stop. But it has become impossible to control my temper when I'm subjected to the same stupid garbage every hour of every day, despite the fact that I constantly ask people to stop. I'm only going to get grumpier and grouchier and angrier the longer this goes on. Please stop sending me stupid emails. Thank you for following the development of Yandere Simulator.